So this is a video about taking the handlebar and throttle assembly off a Vectrix scooter. I'm doing it to this scooter today because this throttle assembly has stopped working. My previous experience with taking this throttle assembly apart is it turns into a 2-day ordeal and then you don't fix it anyway. So definitely not doing that. I'm going to swap the whole handlebar over. If you do ever get a faulty throttle, don't pull it apart, whatever you do, leave it alone. So first step, I normally take the wing mirrors off. It's not a necessity to take it off, but you're much less likely to break them if you do. So these are reasonably straightforward. You've got a nice nut here that you undo. You only have to loosen it off really, and then you can spin it around by hand. It's way quicker than trying to do it with a spanner. And then I chuck it somewhere safe. Down there's fine. Rub the boot out of the way. I'll do the same thing. Oop. I don't appear to have loosened the bottom one either. Oops. Oh. Ooh. Oh, that's stuck in there pretty good. Oh well, I'll cross that bridge later. It does have a double nut system, so it's like an extension nut which you screw into. It's not critical to take the one or the other off, as long as you're taking the mirror out of the way. Okay, next step. There's 2 screws holding this plastic work on, and then there's another couple of screws underneath here which are going to be difficult to film. But I'll get the Phillips out of the way first. Sometimes it's easier to angle the handlebar the other way to get access to the screw. A stubby screwdriver would also help here, but I've misplaced mine for the moment, so I'm dealing with what I have. If we get the camera just underneath here, so underneath there is a button screw. Which I'm really hoping I've got the right bit size for. It takes an Allen key, or an Allen key adapter at least. And if I'm doing it blind, it feels like a 2. It's a size 2. Oh yes, that feels like a size 2. That's good. Means I don't have to bend over as far to actually look at it. I can just do it. No, I'm gonna have to have a look at it. Oh, I take it back. Sorry, that's not the Phillips screw. The perils are not actually looking. The main reason we're taking off this plastic cover is so we can undo all the connectors holding the electronics on for the indicators and brake switches and what have you. On both sides. Okay, so this one originally had the button head screws here, but I've clearly taken them out at some previous time. So now the 2 bits of plastic should just separate. A flathead screwdriver would help here. find if I just put the screwdriver in the gap and twist, that usually separates them without doing any damage. Once you've separated them, it just slides, it should slide up. Whoops. Should, being the operative word. Whether it does is a separate matter entirely. There's no need to take off the bottom one, because it gives you access to the screws here and here. Okay, so undo this connector, you've got to manipulate this red one. I think you're supposed to pull it out, and then that allows you to, there's normally a little tab or something you can push on to separate it out. Maybe it's, whoops, oh, it's completely separate now. Appear to be missing something here. Oh yes, there we go. So a little black tab, you push that down and then it lets you undo. Normally on your bike there'll only be one of these connectors. On mine I've got two because I redid the wiring through here because I thought it was the wiring fault. It was disappointingly not the wiring fault. Now there's another one hiding down underneath here. Again, getting to it can be quite challenging. And if memory serves, no, that should be all of them. Oh, if you're just changing the handlebar for the throttle and you don't need to bleed your brakes or anything, it is advisable to undo these two here to drop the brakes off. Which is what I'm going to do now. That is a size 4 Allen key. But I'm going to cheat and use my adapter because it's easy to use. I'm going to cheat a little bit more. I can use my socket set on it because it's stiff. This bike's done nearly 200,000 kilometers and these have never been changed, so I'm expecting them to be a bit stiff. Okay, put that off and out. Over there somewhere. I generally like to screw the screws back in just hand tight for no other reason than they don't go missing that way. Alright, on to the next one. One more. Now, even if your handlebar does have a dodgy throttle in it, I don't suggest you throw it out necessarily, because one day some smart person might work out how to fix them. Which is somewhat difficult if you're starting from scratch rather than starting from something that already works. Yeah. to undo a bunch of these cable ties, or at least sneak the wires out from them. It's not too much of a drama to take the non-throttle side off. Pretty sure you just sort of unscrew the end. Screw. This is particularly useful if you're taking the replacement handlebar off a bike that hasn't been ridden in a long time and you're not actually sure if things like switches and other hardware actually works. It also means that you don't have to undo quite as much. Wire cutters. Okay, nearly there. Put that somewhere safe. That one too, I suppose. Okay, that should leave you with connected loose. That's the throttle. Both your brake levers clear. So then, when we lift this handlebar off, there's nothing in the way. Oh, the one other bit is there's a Phillips head just in here, and that holds the bottom plastics on. Although you don't need to remove the bottom plastics, you don't want them coming off with the handlebar. Okay, and from memory, there's actually a little nut on the underside. It's probably just fallen down somewhere far away, so that will be a problem for future Matt. Alright, what are these? Size 5, I believe. Oops. I don't throw my bits away. And once again, I'll use my special, well, it's not that special, it's just a socket set with a 1/4 inch socket for my little bit, just to loosen these off. Ooh, that felt right. Now this bike rolled off the assembly line in 2007, so at 17 years old, it's nearly old enough to vote. I'm actually expecting screws to be either really tight or quite loose actually. I must admit I've been naughty and haven't checked to see whether they've stayed tight after all these years. At least in the handlebar you'll feel it if it's not tight. Shut them aside. You can tell it stayed put for a while because there's actually nothing holding it there and it hasn't fallen off yet. Ooh, wow, that's stiff. Right, I might have to force it off. Oh, that actually seized on. There we are, one handlebar, free clear with the throttle still intact.